Wow. All right. So we're live for the first time, and it feels pretty good. Um, it's been 2 years since I've decided that I wanted to get into making a podcast as well as a whole YouTube channel, website, and everything. So this is kind of where it's all starting to finally come together with time-wise. So this is the first episode of the Roadorama Podcast. It's going to be a live series. We're going to start doing as much as we possibly can, bringing on guests and, maybe talking about history, stories, pretty much everything we can think of for automotive. There's really no boundaries. But today we're live here with a good friend of mine. He used to live here in Wisconsin, but now he lives way out there in Rapid City, South Dakota, about by the Black Hills. And he's got a really fast-growing Instagram that's really neat to watch it kind of unfold. He's been working on a car that's a little kind of kind of unexpected, but they've got a huge following with a lot of outdoorsy and adventurous folks, and that's the Subaru Crosstrek. He's been building this thing for probably like 2 years, 2 years I think it was almost exactly. He lifted this thing, made everything just absolutely basically a monster for the off-road when you think about a Subaru. But instead of just chatting about it, I'm kind of lonely on the screen, so I'm just gonna pull him on because intros are never my strong suit. What's up, River?
Hello, how's it going?
It's going. It's weird to be making a podcast right now. That's for sure. It is
weird,
dude. Especially knowing you and me and how we operate. Like,
yes,
this just isn't. This isn't it, boss. But
we're
gonna make it.
Do. Yeah.
No. Usually it's I want to grab a beer and I drive 14 hours out there so we can hit up Lost Cabin. But instead, here we are on a podcast 900 miles away from each other. And do we know what we're doing? No, but we're gonna get through it.
Absolutely.
So we're hoping that there's not going to be any crazy technical difficulties or anything, but this is the first live stream. Didn't do any test lives whatsoever, just kind of prepped everything. So we're just going to rock and roll with it, and if it gets rocky, what are we going to do, right? That's just the nature of live streaming. So I think real quick, just to go through, it feels so much better to talk with somebody else on screen. I don't like that being alone. We're just going to go live with two people right away every time, but for today's show, we've got a lot to cover. We've got not only your build, which is your Crosstrek. We're going to talk a little bit about the history and just kind of like how did you get out there and what have you been doing out there in the Black Hills that has my interest peaked and has been peaked for a few years now, is just being like absolute goals. With that being said, though, we've also got something else to discuss in the second half of the show, which is, if anyone watching knows me, you've got the Subaru Legacy that was rescued. I call it the rescue wagon that we brought back from Golden, Colorado, which was an insane trip all on its own, kind of like a life goal to drive a pile of junk car across the country and get it home. So we're going to talk about that too. But without further ado, I think it's time for you to be able to say something that's not me rambling. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. Good to be here.
Yeah. We've got so let's talk about how you got to South Dakota. So you used to live in Madison.
That's right.
That's how we met.
Yeah, I lived in Madison, Wisconsin for about 15 yeyears and decided to move back to where I originally came from, which is South Dakota. Live out here in the Black Hills. I basically grew up in Wisconsin, went to high school, all, middle school, whatever. Was a mechanic there, and then decided when I moved out here that I didn't really want to do that forever, so went back to school, and I'm just currently finishing up my bachelor's in software development, and got a couple more months of that left, and yeah, that's just me as a person.
Well, you are indeed a person, can confirm, but yeah, no, so it's been crazy though. So when you first moved out there, I remember you had that little Fiesta, right? You had a Ford Fiesta. What year was that thing? That was like
I had a Dart first, and
you
then
had the Dart. Yep.
Yeah, the Dart is a forgotten car, and I'm okay with that.
I completely forgot that you had a Dart.
We don't talk about that.
We just ignore that ever happened.
Yeah.
So you had the Dart, but then you got the Fiesta, and I mean, I kind of just want to bring up a picture of it because the way that you utilize your car now, looking at this picture.
It was exactly the same, actually. It was exactly the same. It was just not made for it at
Yes.
all. Yeah, I bought this 2017 Fiesta, just basically a base model. It's a 5-speed, and honestly, like I said, it wasn't made for it at all. I just want something that was for economy, really. I think it's got good fuel economy. And I decided to build a bed platform in it. I took out the passenger seat. I was able to sleep in it. My head was basically 2 inches from the hatch, and my feet was almost touching the dash, but I could sleep in that thing. And I had a solar shower on the roof, as you can see. It was like a basically an oval-shaped PVC pipe that would heat up water in the sun. And all the solar panels that you can see, and there was 2 lithium batteries that I had on the hitch. I mean, the thing was pretty ridiculous for a Fiesta, but it actually worked really well. I went all over with that thing, all around Colorado and Wyoming, and it was a great little road trip car. I mean, you could basically park it anywhere, like a parking lot, sort of stealth camping thing. It wasn't really stealth camping once I got everything on the roof, but before that, you could basically stealth camp in it like a van. You could tinted windows, and it was good for just road tripping. But it definitely lacked a lot of comfort, and I couldn't really bring a lot of things with me because it was a Fiesta. Like, I had room for basically a cooler inside, and I didn't really have any room to bring bags or anything for my food and clothes. So it was all just sort of stuffed underneath my drawer, or my bed platform. It was really just a mess, but it worked great, and it's what I had at the time. And really, I think that's what's more important than having the right rig, is just getting out there, and that's what this did for me. Absolutely. It got me into the hobby of going out camping and traveling and seeing nature, and I honestly love the thing.
Well, I mean, you treated it well, but you also abused the hell out of it, and I think that the testament to that was, I mean, did it ever break? I don't recall a time that it ever broke.
Never. I didn't do a single thing to that thing. Suspension wise, I didn't have skid plates somehow. I didn't bash oil pan on that. I don't know how. Never broke anything but 2 rear struts. That's it. I just had to replace the struts because of all the weight back there. But other than that, the Fiesta was pretty solid. Not even tires. It had just street tires on it.
Yeah, and you'd take that to some gnarly places. I remember getting Snapchats all the time when you'd go out there and be like, "Oh, look at all these just rocks and just junk
coming up there, yeah,
and just plowing through it." And our friend Josh was with you one time, and I remember him sending me a Snapchat of you just doing some gnarly. Like, you wouldn't consider it for a truck or a 4-wheel drive to be like crawling or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that thing was doing things like a Fiesta just had no business doing,
Absolutely.
which is just great. I absolutely love that. So then you had your Fiesta, and then about almost exactly 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago, about a week ago, and there was actually that picture that you just brought up was in March of 2 years ago.
Sure.
And as you can see, there's a lot of mud on the tires. So it was basically March, right as the snow was melting out here. I wanted to get out camping, and like the only thing that was stopping me was just basically slightly muddy trails.
Sure.
I'm like, if I just had something just a little bit more capable, like, it doesn't have to be like a Jeep or anything, just something a little bit more capable. And immediately my mind went to Subarus because I've been a Subaru fan forever. Basically, I used to be a Subaru tech, and I worked on plenty of Outbacks, and I had quite a few second gen Outbacks.
Yeah, I was gonna say you had a pile of those too.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I know you had a picture of that. One of your Outbacks, or was that both your Outbacks that blew up the internet? Or is
nope. Yeah, that was just mine. Just the white one was mine. I forgot to get to you that picture. The Outback on the Outback.
I thought maybe you were just trying to avoid bringing up past you don't like.
I completely forgot about that. Honestly, I forget it happens.
Broke the internet, and it was hilarious, because like it was such a dumb joke, and everyone just lost their minds over it. It's like one of those stupid internet things. To the point where it went relatively viral.
Yeah, it was on the front page of Reddit for a couple of days. People were irate because they thought I was flat towing it with the drive shaft in. They're like, "You're destroying your transmission and everything." And I was a mechanic at the time. I'd been a mechanic for about 4 years at the time.
Oh my God, I found it.
I took the drive shaft out, which I had to tell people a lot of times over and over again. Once you take the drive shaft out, you can tow an Outback like that. Yeah, that's the picture right there. Me and my
Classic.
buddies, we just towed my broken out bag. It basically blew an engine. That's what happened, and we towed it 900 miles back to Wisconsin.
Interesting.
That was really my first introduction to off-roading Subarus. I beat that thing. I beat it hard, but it wanted me. Basically gave me a desire to build more of a Subaru, like as an actual daily, and not just as a fun car. That was a second car, obviously.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that with your daily. And there's people that do stuff like that, just hilarious junk with their dailies. And I don't have the courage.
Yeah, me neither.
Don't have the courage.
It's expensive too.
But yeah, no. So then, okay. So fast forward, we got the Fiesta out of the way, and then you decided you wanted to get into a Subaru. So what was your thought process like? Because to me, it felt like it was really, really abrupt that you were just like, one day you're like, hey, look at me camping in my Fiesta, and then next day it was gone.
It was abrupt because, like I said, it was March. It was like the weather was gorgeous outside. Like it were to 60s, 70s, and I couldn't get out to campsites, and I was frustrated. I was like, it's just a little bit of mud, a little bit of snow. If I just had something with all-wheel drive, I don't even need good tires or anything, just something a little bit more capable, I could get out there and go camping. And I just started looking around, and originally I was looking at like 2015-ish Outbacks.
Sure.
And I really liked those. I just decided for about the same price, you could almost get a new Crosstrek, and I didn't know if I really needed the space for an Outback, so
right.
Decided to go with the Crosstrek, and I figured with how many miles I drive, it kind of does make sense to buy something new if it's within the budget. Because I've already put 50,000 on my Crosstrek in 2 years, so it's if I bought something used with 100,000 miles on it, it'd be spending a lot of money on maintenance. So in that regard, I'm kind of glad that I did buy something new. But yeah, I love it. It's a little bit small sometimes, but
I think one of the things that's nice, because I wanted to bring up the size after talking about the Fiesta, was it might be a little bit small, and it might be a little hard to pack, especially once we get into what you have in back of that thing.
Yeah.
But one thing that I absolutely love is whenever I'm out there and we go wheeling with it, it's always been like it's like a UTV. You can skirt through the trails. When you need to make tight maneuvers, you can make them. You're not worried about, a truck with a bed out back. You're not worried about having a behemoth of a Jeep. You're not worried about anything other than you're literally in a hatchback that has the capabilities, if not better capabilities than, like a UTV in some scenarios.
Yeah.
And you're able to get places. You're able to get way more places.
Oh, absolutely. That's something that, the size, it has a lot of disadvantages, but there's a lot of advantages that come with that also. It's, like I said, easier to fit down trails. And it's, even like compared to like an Outback, there's the departure angle and everything's a lot better. And breakover is just being smaller. It's harder to pack things in there. You can't pack as much stuff in there, but there are definitely times where it is nice, the size of it, where it's basically, the size of an Impreza, because it is an Impreza, right? I mean, that's all a Crosstrek is a factory lifted Impreza, so.
And it has a bigger fuel tank and plastic cladding.
It does have a bigger fuel tank. I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, I think it's 4 gallons larger than an Impreza.
Okay.
Because I had called it an Impreza when I bought mine. I had said, this is just a lifted Impreza. And then, you get into the weeds of the internet and somebody... Actually, a lot of somebodies were just like, yes, but it has a bigger fuel tank. And I'm like, okay, it's got a bigger fuel tank.
I actually did not know that. I thought they were all 16.5 or 16.4 gallons.
I think it's like 12 or 14 in the Impreza. I think it might be 12 and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Somebody can fact check me, but a lot of people yell at me. I researched it, found out. It should be in my review video too. But I wanted to just throw this out there because I didn't want to like transition right away while we're talking, but I think we want to see what this Crosstrek looks like now, because everybody and their mother knows exactly what a Crosstrek looks like. You just got to go to your local grocery store. You'll see 13 of them.
Yes.
But none of them are as built or abused. Gently
I wouldn't say
abused.
abused.
It's gently abused. It's used.
It's taken care of, though, very, very well.
It's taken care of very well.
It gets dirty very often, but it is taken care of. I maintain it, and I change the fluids way before they're supposed to be, and the thing is meticulously maintained. It's just it gets used.
It's
for sure.
It's actually ridiculous how you take care of this car, because I'm one of those people with cars where it's like, I'm going to take care of it so it doesn't give up on me, but it's like, whatever. Little passive, right? But you're like, you go off road, you get home, it's washed, and it's like it's washed and then tucked away in the garage, and then you go out there, you get it insanely dirty, you bring it home, it's washed, you hit, your 3,000 miles, especially knowing that you're driving it not like a typical highway driver, right?
Oh yeah.
It's maintained. It's oil all oil fluids, yada yada, all taken care of, which I think is kind of insane. Especially if
It's
you're a busy
really
guy.
it's really important because when you are taking a vehicle that's not at all meant for this, and you add a lot of weight, and you add big heavy tires, and you're doing things that's not meant to do, it takes extra maintenance to take care of it. You have to change all your fluids, your differential, your transmission, even your engine oil. I'm probably going to start changing that sooner now that it's got the 30s on there, which we'll talk about the mods. But you just taking extra care of it, it'll take care of you, basically.
Right.
Something I believe in for sure.
Definitely.
Especially being a mechanic, I more meticulous about my cars anyway. But yeah, there she is.
Yeah, I love these photos, man. It's cool too because
Thank you.
from my side of point of view, whatever you want to call it. I know cameras, I know cars and everything, and you're getting out there and doing some work with that little Sony, and the pictures are always stupendous. You spend a lot of time editing and then getting these things posted up, and once we get into the mods too, we'll talk about what that's led to as far as like your sponsorship with what was that, Diode Dynamics.
Yep.
But I think it's just such a sweet vehicle because you see Crosstreks that are lifted, and just none of them are this like clean and well done. Like the fitment is perfect in my opinion. Look at that. These Auroras have been getting crazy lately.
Yep. That was
All
2
over.
nights ago.
2 nights ago, and then we had them here too. People are getting out there and getting after it. I'm not brave enough to stay up that late these days.
It actually wasn't that late. That was about 10 o'clock, actually.
Really?
But yeah.
Here they hit at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it really depends. They can kind of be all over. But yeah, that was beautiful to watch that.
Yeah, it was really funny. You sent me that Snapchat the one morning, and I'm like, I can see that on the Snapchat, and then the Snapchat of the camera's view. Okay, I can see it there. I'm like, that's a pretty strong Aurora, because around here, like in Wisconsin, if you see one, I mean, it's like a ghost, right? It's like white, way off in the distance, and just like a little glimmer, and you don't see too much of it, and it takes effort to see it. And the last couple weeks, it's been pretty strong. So I wonder what's going on up there.
It depends. The other night, you definitely could have seen it, for sure. As long as it wasn't cloudy. Sure. There are people in Minnesota with some crazy pictures. Yeah,
they've been doing that here a lot too. All the news sources were coming out and showing off pictures and everything. That was
really cool. I love seeing that.
Oh, me too. I remember one time I was a kid. I think that's the only time I've ever seen like the full green, crazy Auroras. I was a kid. And I just remember walking outside and getting scared because I didn't know what was happening. But all right.
Yeah, you remember it for sure.
Oh yeah. So where do you want to start with your mods? I mean, you've got a lot done to it. Like quick rundown, right?
So yeah, I'll run down everything that's just basically bought and put on it, and then we can talk about all the custom stuff.
Sure.
If that works for you.
It works for me.
So starting with wheels and tires, running Method MR 703s in 15x7s, and they're wrapped in BF Goodrich 30 by 9.5 by 15 KO2s. I love those tires, man. I love them. I ran 215s on my last set, just upgraded to 30s, and I love them. And to fit that, I've got Rally Tech's 2-inch lift all the way around with their 1/2-inch springs with the overloads in the rear subframe spacers, and then underneath, as you can see there in that picture, we got full primitive armor, engine skid plate, trans skid plate, and rear diff skid plate. And then for lights, we've got Diode Dynamics SS3 Pros. There's 4 of those, and those are on ADF brackets and SMK fabrication brackets. And then we've got the roof. We have the Smittybilt Overlander Gen 2 tent and a Napa 8-foot awning. And we've got 4 cheap Amazon side lights, as you can see there underneath the awning and on the other side. And then the rear lights are just sort of some cheap Amazon lights also. And you can see my little camera underneath the tent. That's my rear view, since I can't see out my back anymore. The hitch is an Eco hitch. They're also a supporter of the build, torque lift. They run my hitch receiver. It's actually a really cool system. You can actually remove the whole receiver out of the hitch. You can't actually see the bar underneath it. Mounted to a very, very cheap Amazon tire carrier. I get so many questions about this tire carrier. Everyone wants to know what it is, and it's the cheapest thing you could buy on Amazon. It's like $80, and it's a fifth of the price of all these other ones that you see that are drop downs. But it works great, actually. Like, it works awesome.
It does. It really does work awesome. And something that I love is I love seeing tire carriers on Crosstreks. It's like, I don't know what it is. They look like they belong with a tire on the back. I don't know if it's just my nostalgia from the late 90s or what, but it looks awesome. But I think it's really cool that setup was cheap, but it's functional, right? You can just drop it down, get it out of the way, and do all your junk. You don't have to remove anything. Just drop it down, and you're on your way to open up the giant system in the back that you installed.
Yeah. Yep. It works great for what it is. I mean, for the price, you just can't argue. And then let's see what else we got for mods. I'm definitely gonna forget some. Obviously, the rally armor, mud flaps. That's kind of whatever. Like,
how many times have you torn those off?
Probably half a dozen times. Yeah, the front ones. That's probably a good thing I can't run them anymore.
I think it was funny that people were like, when you put those on, and then you'll get a bunch of comments, be like, "Oh, those are too slim. They're going to rip off," and then they don't until you just start absolutely using your car, but also with big off-road tires on it.
It's then the reversing.
Reversing, and especially in the snow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, snow or like a rock. Basically, a rock gets behind the tire, and then you get the mud flap, and then the tire comes along and just rips it right off. Yeah. Happens a lot, but yeah, those are gone now. So.
Yep. You took all four off, right?
No, just the front.
Just the front two. That makes sense.
Yeah, the two that are actually doing anything for myself.
at least the people behind you are, going to be happy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, and it does look good. I like the red on there. But anyway, so the other mods that I have, starting with the power, electrical. So I've got a Victron 30 amp DC-DC charger. This is all underneath my passenger seat. Got my power unit that runs out to a couple of block plates and a fuse blocks. Yep, right there. There's breakers for everything. I've got breakers for my fridge, my inverter, and my diesel heater output. I have a low diesel heater I use when I'm camping. I think it works awesome. So that is all underneath my passenger seat. I got a little fan under there to make sure there's ventilation. And that goes to a 100 amp hour lithium battery that is in my spare tire compartment. And that is my shut off and my 500 watt inverter, which is on the drawer system, which is kind of the big mod of the whole rig. That was a huge project, that drawer system.
It was insane. I remember you sent me a Snapchat. I'll throw this picture up, but just to give an idea of the scope of how freaking deep into this car you went. Because a lot of people might be like, "Oh yeah, he's got wheels and tires on a Crosstrek," but the amount of time and effort that went into that went into this car. I mean, with your technical knowledge when it comes to Subarus, you dug into this thing, and I remember you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna just sound deaden things." So it's like, "Oh, he's just gonna take off the roof, like the roof liner and a few things," and then it was like probably like 8 hours later, you're like, "So this is my car now."
Every single thing came out.
Every single part of the car was gone, and every single surface imaginable is covered in this sound deadening material.
Yep.
And I think that the next bit about modding the car is there's a reason for that, because you took out the rear seats, and a lot of people don't understand this, but rear seats in a car take in a lot of noise, and the second you take those out, even just putting your seats down for some reason just opens up a ton of noise.
Absolutely.
so this was definitely seems like it was well worth the investment. Not only that, but also like it softens the wheel noise a little bit, just because you're not on highway tires anymore. You're on some big chunky boys. So
they are highway tires, but they're not all seasons. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. They're not the typical run of the mill go to the grocery store tires.
Yeah, that sound deadening, that was just pure pain. That was a full day of disassembling the interior. That wasn't too bad. People ask me if it was bad to disassemble it. It really wasn't. It was applying it. It was about a week straight of applying it, doing nothing but applying sound deadening to every single surface. The whole roof, inside the rear quarter panels, the whole hatch compartment, the actual hatch itself, all the doors, 2 layers on each door. That was a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
And it made sense to do that because I had an idea for a drawer system, right? So I was out camping. I guess when we talk about the adventures, or do you want to talk about that now?
Oh, we can go. Let's get into the drawer system, and then we'll
Okay.
just shoot the breeze about adventures, because
Okay.
that'll be a great segue into the second
Yeah.
half of this podcast. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I've got all the time in the world, so I'm not too worried.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I was out on a trip, and I liked the whole Crosstrek setup. I basically was using like storage bins, and it worked okay, but there was a lot of shuffling around I had to do to get to certain things, and I just wanted more organization, and I wanted just more speed to be able to cook and be able to store things. And I knew I wanted to get a secondary battery in there because I was using a diesel heater at the time,
Right.
and those don't take a whole lot of power, but it takes enough that I needed to put a deep cycle battery. And in order to do that, I needed to take out the rear seats and everything.
Right.
So I had to design a whole thing from scratch, a drawer system, because nobody makes one for a Crosstrek.
And there it is.
So I went out and bought 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch plywood, 40 inch and 32 inch drawer slides. They're all locking. And it's not an ARB fridge. Those are just ARB hold downs. It's a Alpi-Cool fridge with an LG compressor in it. And these cool they're like amp box handles. They're like kind of spring loaded. They look kind of cool. Anyway, so the battery is underneath basically the bottom drawers there where the spare tire is,
Sure.
right? So basically that was a large reason why I had to build this, is I wanted to keep that battery down there, but I also wanted a kitchen. I wanted to be able to have a fridge back here with a slide out. And honestly, it works great. I love it. I've used it.
I was surprised.
So much.
Is that okay? So the racking that you're using to have that slider, is that just a generic slider? Because that, to me, that looks a lot like a server rack. Like
No, I built that. That's actually plywood.
Yeah.
I built that out of plywood, and then I just put the handle on the end, and the slider. They might use those on server racks. It's basically just a universal slider that's locking. It definitely could be something that's used for servers for sure.
Heck yeah.
The whole thing is polyurethane coated, 3 or 4 coats, and then I bedlined all of it, and then carpet wrapped some of it, not the actual drawers, but like the stuff that's in front, basically.
Sure.
Next to the fridge, and then sort of on top and on the sides, all that's carpet wrapped. But anything that might get wet was kept, as you can see, bare and bedlined. Keep it water protected, but yeah, all that was about a month project.
And again, just to reiterate, that entire system, which we have more pictures that we'll go through that showcases exactly how you use that, but that entire system built from scratch,
built from scratch,
and it works so well.
Yes, it works great. There's a couple little things I've been tweaking on at the kitchen lately. That's been changed, but now it's almost completely perfect.
Sure.
But yeah, that was built. I just bought sheets of plywood. Don't even have a table saw. I was just using a circular saw to build that, and pocket hole screws, and I had to design all of it from scratch, and it was a huge job. People ask me if I'll build them one, and the answer is, I mean, I would love to, but man, I just don't have the time. It'd be a full-time job building those.
Right. Yeah, no, that was an insane process, because I remember you were showing me, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? Because it was just like, I knew what the idea was, but when I think about doing stuff like that, man, I look for like easy way out. All right, I'm not gonna lie, I like the easy way out.
Yeah.
And so for me, if you go back and watch on the channel from 2021, we had a video that we split up into a review for the Crosstrek, where half of it was filmed here in Appleton, Wisconsin. The other half was filmed actually out in Wyoming, but it really didn't go through showing how we used our cars besides in-car footage, right? But I remember we used all the tubs, because I was like, man, what do I need for this trip? We're gonna be out there for like a week or two. What do we need? And you're just like, dude, just get tubs, just throw everything in there. And and they worked great. And I was like, you know what? This is fine for me. And the problem is for me is I only do that once or twice a year that I go on adventures, right? But you're out here almost every weekend. You're itching to get out of the house, get off of, from school work, and just get out and go. And so for you, that becomes a pain real quick.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to pull up a picture.
That's
for
what
you.
I like to stress is you absolutely do not need something like that to get out and go camping. That's something that I sort of just wanted after years and years of doing it. But really, as long as you just get out there and enjoy nature, that's really what it's about.
Right.
But this is just something that I was able to build it, and I'm insanely lucky to have it and to be able to get out and get to use it. And yeah, here it is. This is on my latest trip. I updated the kitchen, got a butane stove, and that was basically exactly a year after I built that. After a year of use, and you really can't tell at all.
I can't believe you've already had that built for a year.
Yeah.
I don't know where
yeah.
time is going, but it needs to stop.
I know it.
But this is it's such an insane just everything about it. I absolutely love this. You know how much I love this car and how much I love how you use it, and to add this whole rear end drawer system that isn't just, drawers for storage, but is actually a functional freaking kitchen with a refrigerator in the back of a Crosstrek. It's like, that's just my favorite. I mean, and you know how much I like to eat when we're out there. And when we first would go out there and it was like, hey, we're going to have some dinner. And I was over here with my little propane like clip-on thing and just throwing down some, what do you have? We had spam, hot dogs, spam, and instant mashed potatoes.
Oh man, that's what I started when I was in my Fiesta. I had a jet boil, and we would have cans of beans and cans of canned chicken. That's what we used to eat. Canned chicken and oatmeal, and that was all I had was my jet boil right there. That thing's still cooking after 5 years.
See, that's the crazy thing, right? We started off small. You started off small, right, with the cooking, but now, I mean, look at this. He's got the Cholula, he's got the oils, the seasoning. He's got a whole spice cabinet somewhere hidden in here. That red lentil rotini, come on, man. It's perfect.
Gotta get that protein in. Absolutely.
But it's just insane.
The cooking thing is, you spend a lot of time actually cooking at camp.
Right.
And if you can refine that process, you can spend, my way of looking at it is, if I can spend less time setting up a kitchen and everything, I can spend more time out hiking around campsites and actually enjoying nature, not so much time setting up camp. And that's something I've kind of been trying to stress, is it's more about getting out there and enjoying it. And that's kind of what it allows me to do, is to spend more time enjoying nature and less time, setting up tables and everything.
Or, the one thing that I think about this is that we can do the old point it into the wind so you can block some wind when you're trying to cook. Because I remember the first time I went out there, we were up on top of that hill overlooking that nice valley, absolutely gorgeous. We could get into a whole episode just talking about that trip, but we were up there and the wind was ripping for just a short bit of while, and cooking was just like everything's blowing everywhere. You're chasing all your cups, cans, napkins, plates, yada yada yada, and now it's like you don't even have to worry about that. Everything's contained. You can at least move things away. You don't have to worry about like, okay, cool, I gotta hide all this, but I still have to be able to use it while you're cooking. And now it's just easy. So
I remember that taco cooking adventure. Right, and that thunderstorm came out of nowhere. Yep.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was. I wish I would. If we were like super deeply prepared, we'd probably have pictures and video, because we took some video of that. But that time, just racing that freaking storm that never even hit that spot.
Yeah. The tornadoes.
Yeah, they were racing an hour and a half home and just got there and went. So we get in the hot tub and there was no storm. We could see it like 40 miles away off in the distance over the prairie, but it never hit that spot. We sprinted out of there, but
anywho. It happens. Sometimes you gotta deal with nature when you're out in nature.
It's part of the deal. If you want to go into nature, there's just gonna be some nature.
Absolutely.
Okay, but I've got another picture here, and this is the part where I absolutely love it, but then you start to go, River, are you a glamper?
Okay, yes, I know the one you're going for already.
Because dog, that's so cool. It's so cool, but also like, man, you're in the middle of Nowheresville.
Yep.
What were you even watching?
Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders, such a good show, by the way.
Really?
Such a good show.
I wish I could get into watching TV. I've heard of the name of this so many times. Don't even know what it is. Have no idea.
Yeah, it's about like 20s sort of gangsters, and like in the UK. It's awesome. Awesome.
Interesting. I might have to.
Such a good show. But yeah, so that's my little projector I have in my awning. You just basically drop down the awning, you have a projector screen anywhere. It was a pretty cold night, so I couldn't really do much of anything.
Right.
And this was in November, so it got dark fairly early, or October. Anyway, it got dark fairly early. So yeah, I just went and watched an episode of Peaky Blinders with a little projector set up on top of my water jug.
There's the rope lighting too for me. I'm
Yes.
I'm a fan of the rope lighting. I've got a spare room up here in my office just in case, and I've got rope lighting everywhere, so I adore it. But like,
It's the best
just
thing.
such a
It
vibe.
takes up a lot of space actually in my storage, but having lights up, it just makes it, I don't know, a lot more comfortable
Right.
to be around camp at night. And it's a small thing for sure. Just cheap Walmart lights. They cost like $20. They take like 6 watts of power. It takes nothing to run them. It just adds a huge ambiance to the camp and just comfort. It's easier to do things when you can see, you
Right.
know, at night.
Well, especially too the places that you're going. I mean, you're not sitting in a campsite either, making people uncomfortable
Yeah.
because they're like, I'm trying to sleep, I can't see because all this bright light. Well, it's nothing like that because the only thing
No.
complaining is going to be the deer or the elk, the birds. But
Yeah, there's nobody.
Yeah.
I never camp in campsites. I haven't camped in a campsite in, I don't know, 10 years probably. It's all been, I'm in the middle of nowhere, so there's no bugging anybody.
right, and
That's why I like it.
you're out in the middle of nowhere until that one guy in a pickup truck shows up and just like, I'm going to set up
Yeah.
camp 20 feet from this man here.
Sometimes they'll find you. They will find you. They'll just be out strolling along, and yeah, that will happen. But you know what? It's
Yeah.
public land for a reason. Technically, they have a right to do that, but it can get on your nerves when there's, thousands of miles of forest trails. And
Literally.
yeah, they want to come set up right next to you.
Yep. And that's exactly it. So like that's one thing to a lot of people. There's people out there, right, that want to get into this, and
Yeah.
one of the let's just get into some controversy here, right? Is you got the people that do this stuff and they post it all over the internet, right? But not only do they post really, it might be cool content, but they're telling everyone exactly where they're going, and then they find that
Yeah.
hidden gem. Well, now everybody goes there, and then all these people go there and they leave trash there. Right, that was
Yeah.
one big thing when I was out there. That was so surprised of. We were getting into some remote spots, and you find one nice area, and then
Yeah.
it would just be covered in beer cans, cigarette boxes, just junk. And then you've got people pulling up, and you're like, why are you even here? And then you see us here. Now you're right next to us. Like, what in the world? And it's happened to you, I know, a few times where you've got this beautiful spot, you're really remote, and then you get somebody that's just like, I'm going to camp 5 feet away from you. And it's
Yeah.
like, just have some courtesy, right? Like, obviously, everyone has their right. You can pick apart the rights battle any day.
Yeah.
But just have courtesy. Have courtesy for the land,
Yeah.
other people.
It's nice out here. You don't have that quite as much. Places like Colorado, that's a huge problem. Huge problem as far as, just the trash and the overuse of certain areas. It's really sad to go in places like Twin Lakes, Colorado. These campsites are just absolutely trash because people, they don't know how to properly pack it and pack it out, or they just don't care. And there's a lot of different reasonings behind it. But I really can't tell you the ultimate reason, but like, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. That's why I try to not geotag stuff. Usually I'll just say the state I'm in. I don't do like giving out campsites
Right.
either. People ask me like, where is this? And like, it seems like I'm trying to gatekeep, but
There's a
really,
difference.
I think there's a fun part of getting out there and discovering these places yourself.
Right.
I think that's really what's ultimately more fun than just saying, okay, here's the coordinates, and then they go there, then they're there, and they camp it, and they might be totally fine, or they might trash it and have a big, bungalow party out there. And
Big old bungalow hullabaloo. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big thing though with anything. But I think here there's a difference, right? You talk about gatekeeping, and I think like there's one thing, right? Is like your wheels, right? Somebody asks you. A million people ask you about your wheels. Whoa, what's your wheel setup? Honestly, you can gatekeep, and it's understandable because like, well, you did a lot of research and a lot of time into this, but at the same time, it's really easy to say, here's some numbers, right? Like, yeah, you just run this. But when it comes to the land and protecting what you've essentially found, it's kind of important when you're the one that lives out there, right? You're the one, especially in rapid area, is like you take a lot of time to find these spots, and you find one that's like seems nobody's ever touched, and now you want to go and enjoy it multiple times and whatnot. and keep it safe, keep it protected, because we see other spots getting just absolutely blown up. It makes sense, and you can't hate anyone for wanting to protect the land and protect the scenery.
Yeah, and you don't have an issue with other people using it. That's going to happen, right?
Right.
It's public land. People are going to be out there, and they're going to be camping in the same area as you. It's just some level of discretion when you're sharing locations, especially on places like Instagram. If it's among your friends and whatnot, that's one thing. But if you're posting something publicly on Instagram, that's going to be exponential as far as the amount of people that can see it, and it's just going to snowball.
Especially when you geotag, and then everyone in that area, if they're looking through anything generic, they see that. It's one of those things, just got to be conscious of. But on the flip side, speaking of places for Instagram, right, and showing off some locations, just the full camp setup right here. This is an awesome spot.
This is one where I've had issues.
Actually, specifically.
Yep. This spot up in the Black Hills. That's actually Black Elk Peak in the background. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous area of the Black Hills. That's basically the heart of the Black Hills.
Right.
That's the tallest peak in the Black Hills is right there. All the granite spires. It's absolutely gorgeous. And almost every time I'm up in this spot, someone drives up there wanting to either just look up there or wanting to camp or something. And I'm not going to say that I discovered that spot. I didn't, but I've gotten asked where this is a lot of times.
Right.
Just because of this, and I get that can come with sharing a beautiful picture like this, and I understand it. People want to enjoy it too, but you can get out there and get the whole experience of discovering spots, and who knows, you might find a better spot, or
And I think one thing to tag into that, like you had said, is there's definitely no problem ever going out to a spot that's scenic, beautiful, and public, right? But I think the big point to drive home is that if you're out there, enjoy it, but also take care of it, because
absolutely,
when you start to not take care of it and people start to have problems, that's when things start to get shut down and things go away. And it takes a very, very few people to do it. Same with the fire ban, right? Fire ban is a big thing out there. And yet every year you have how many people that probably all of them share the same brain cell, go out there and use fire in a place with a fire ban where everything's dry. Next thing you know, you've got thousands of acres on fire, and all the land is ruined
every
for
year.
Not only you, for not only the campers, but for the animals, for the trees, for everything. And it's because people were just irresponsible. So if you're going to go out, have fun, enjoy it, take as many pictures as you want. Just be careful. Be careful.
Yep. Leave no trace. Zero trace.
Just came here to a, what's it called? We got a whole TED Talk on preserving the wilderness.
It's important, though.
It is.
It's important, and it's not talked about enough
Right.
as far as camping. People, they come out and they want to get into it, and as far as what you need to go camping is fairly easy, getting the tent and getting everything to cook, and all that's fairly easy, but people don't know the side of taking care of the land and actually packing in everything and packing it out, and that's really something that's just not talked about enough.
Right.
I think it's important, especially the fire ban thing. We have fires every year that are caused by negligence, even though we've had a fire ban for 5 years out here.
Right.
And
then
out here particularly, everywhere it's a problem, really.
Right. And I think one of my favorite things, this is completely a joke to me, is when you see somebody who's burning something on public land, and then you just go up to them and just say, hey, maybe you have the gall, to say, hey, nowadays it's a little dangerous to approach a stranger, but you might go up to them and say, hey, look, man, we got a fire ban out here. This could really get out of hand. And then nobody ever listens. Nobody cares. They just think, I could just do whatever I want, and it's fine. And those are the people that cause so much destruction for something so unnecessary, even as much as a cigarette, right? It's happened how many times for cigarettes, and cigarette butts have caused insanely large wildfires. So.
It's just so easily avoidable.
Well, for next episode, we're going to have Smokey the Bear as our guest appearance. Because remember, kids, only you can prevent forest and wildfires. But moving on to something that hits a little bit more close to home right now, you got in an accident.
Yes.
Let's preface that. Everyone watching from Wisconsin knows that we get snowstorms here a lot, right? Something that is a little different out there that I discovered in the next segment is you guys get everything, but a lot of it comes down to ice, right? I mean, you guys get some pretty gnarly ice storms out there.
We do, yeah. The blizzards are definitely different out here. Just
Yes.
there's not trees to catch snow, so when it starts blowing, it's just you get complete whiteouts.
Yep.
It's a bit of a problem for sure.
So we can get into the weather part later because we're going to talk about that. But so the Crosstrek was the victim of absolute driver's negligence. And
Yes.
I got some pictures here
So
that we're going to
it
just pull right into.
So I was coming back from a trip that we'll be talking about later, and I was going around sort of a slow corner, and another driver crossed the double yellows, went over 2 lanes of traffic, and T-boned me pretty good. This was back in November. I was absolutely devastated, absolutely devastated. I didn't know if it was going to be totaled or not, and it doesn't look that bad in this picture, but what you can't see, and that's the 300 that hit me. What you can't see, you can see a little bit better there, is the quarter panel. Both the outer and the inner were bashed in, as well as damage to the rear wheel and subframe. So basically everything that was wrong with it is the rear subframe, lateral link, wheel bearing, that inner quarter panel had to be pulled out, and the outer quarter panel was completely cut out and replaced. And then that rear door, it ended up being about $15,000 worth of damage. So it was very, very close to being totaled that day. If the airbags would have deployed, it would have been written off immediately. So
Right. And that was the big surprise because when you first saw me, I was like, okay, yeah, it looks bad. That looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
This looks relatively bad. I mean, you got to remember it's a Chrysler 300. And these things are just friggin' tanks with a bunch of plastic on them, but whatever.
Yeah.
But this looks pretty bad. But you had said, "Oh man, I think you really might be looking at a totaled car here." And I remember being like, "No, dude, that won't even be close." And then you started sending pictures. There were some more pictures that you had sent me, like just from Snap, and some videos explaining exactly what was wrong. And then once you got it in and everything, and they hit you with the estimate, I was taken aghast. That, I mean, if this was any like a mid 2000s car, this car would be absolutely schmangled.
Oh yeah.
So props to Subaru for making this as they did. But I think the even better part about it is the guy who did your body work did an incredible job from what I can tell.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. No, it looks great. Sock Auto Body here in Rapid City. They took care of me. The process was super painful, and it had nothing to do with the body shop. It was all just insurance. Dealing with that was a huge ordeal of about 4 months until I got my car back.
Right.
It was about 2 months of it being gone and 2 months of fighting with insurance to get them to actually cover everything. And so, but yeah, it after everything, it looks great. You can't even tell that it was hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was sad. And then once
Huge bummer.
like huge bummer, right? But then it went off to body shop. So you're rolling around your dad's like not Titan. He's got the
Ram.
He's got the Ram.
Yep.
And then it was like, I remember you were like a fiend waiting for that thing to come back. Because while you had it away, you started having some thoughts about some sort of vehicle called a Jeep.
I had considered trading it in after I got it back and getting something older and cheaper, but ultimately, once I got the Crosstrek back, I was so glad I didn't do that because I just fell back in love with it immediately.
Well, I remember I was trying to talk you off a ledge because you were talking about, it's like, I think it's cool, Jeeps are awesome, but I kept on thinking, I'm like, dude, just keep it. If anything, keep this thing, get it to a good point, and then daily it, and then later on down the line, get a Jeep and just build a rig, like an absolute stunner of a rig. That's how I would do it, but I don't know. That's just me.
I'm so glad I didn't do that, though. I'm so glad I didn't do that. I just, the accident, when you see something you've poured so much time and money into, and seeing it just bashed up like that, it really, really gets you down in a weird way. Sure. It just completely changes your view towards a vehicle. And yeah, once I got it back from the body shop, I'm just like, okay, it's like I got it back for the first time, essentially. And then right after I got it back, that's when I threw the 30s on it. It needed tires anyway, so then that made me fall even more in love with it because it just was a whole different vehicle.
Right. It's great too, because then it's like you got that renewed love for it, that passion's
Yep.
back, and you just want to keep using it the way. And I mean, you were using it the way you used it while it was busted, because you
Yeah.
couldn't do anything else with it, right? Nobody had the
Uh-huh.
car; it was just in limbo. So you limped it through a bunch of trips and whatnot, and then once it was gone, it seems like. I mean, did you go camping and whatnot when you had just the truck?
No, nope, I didn't do anything. It was luckily the accident happened during the basically the beginning of winter.
Sure.
So the coldest months of winter was in between when it happened and me getting it back. So there really wasn't camping weather anyway, which was good. But yeah, I didn't really want to start from scratch on a different build or anything. I just
Right.
when I got the car back, I'm like, I want to get it back to where it was, and I just want to get it back out there and just enjoy camping and hiking, and I'm so glad I did that.
No,
'Cause it's
I agree, man. You've done so much with this car.
yeah, oh yeah.
I can't believe we're almost to an hour already. I mean, let's face it. We started a little later than usual, or later than we expected. We had that, kind of just splash screen up for a little while. So I'm just looking at the time, like, oh my god, we're hitting an hour already. This is flying by. We were worried, right, it's getting this started, but I think this
That's
is
going good, though.
This is going smooth.
Yeah.
I think we were both a little nervous because, background for me, I'm pulling up some pictures, but background for me is I used to run podcasts, right? I used to like professionally produce for a company podcasts for bass fishing and walleye fishing and sporting goods stores and everything. I never had to really worry about being the talent though. And now I'm producing it, talking on it, coordinating it all, which is really fun. But then it's like all of a sudden you get down to go time, you're running late, you got things, and you're like, are my audio sources going to work? What is going on? My camera, like, I don't even know what I'm doing with the backdrop. I don't have a backdrop. And you're futzing with things, and it's like, oh my God, why are we worried? We're just shooting the breeze, and it's going
Yeah, it's
fun.
going good. Absolutely.
But I want to bring up some pictures here quick because let's segue, right? Let's make a left turn and pivot into how you use your car, right? So everyone knows it's an off-road build, but I've got a pile of pictures here. Where do you want to start? I've got some of your out west, the UP, Black Hills.
Let's Midwest.
The UP.
Are you talking about the Black Hills pictures?
I've got the UP.
Those pictures.
The Upper Peninsula.
Yeah. So I just want to preface that with I don't think it's an off-road build. I bought it to go camping,
sure,
primarily, and I built it to camp. I'm not trying to build like a Jeep,
right,
or anything out here. Like, I mainly use it for camping, and it does light off-roading to get me to campsites. I just want to make that perfectly clear because there's a lot of sort of I don't know, people out there who are just building them purely for off-roading,
right,
and that's fine. It's just not what I use it for,
right,
mainly. But anyway, so yeah, some of my favorite trips. We can start with some UP pictures. That was a trip last August. Me and my buddy Josh there, and he's got his Trailhawk Cherokee. We went all the way to the most northern part of Michigan. That was a great trip. Absolutely wonderful. The weather was perfect. It was the most bugs I've ever seen in my life, though.
Sounds about right for the Midwest, man.
Yeah,
bugs are insane.
It was bad. It was so bad. It was like just you couldn't even breathe because there's so many bugs, and I was dealing with a bad sunburn at the time.
Oh my God! Can we talk about the sunburn? So, okay, we're gonna come back to that. But this trip was prefaced, right? By, yeah, this was right after you had come up.
Literally right.
Like
after
literally,
left.
like you left
Yep.
So our family has some property up north, and we were up there for a week. And I was like, and River here wanted something to do, and he was already coming to the UP, and I'm like, dog, you should come and hang out at the property. And he did. He drove all the way from Rapid City, come out to this property. How long of a drive was that?
About 13 hours.
13 hours. There was a bear in the middle of the road right when you got into town, so that was a good welcome.
Yep.
But then it was that at that time we decided once we got settled in and everything the next day to sit outside and enjoy the sun. I know I didn't use sun lotion. Did you?
No sunscreen.
No sunscreen whatsoever.
Man, all day.
You can't do that. If you're gonna be out in the sun, you got to make sure. And I didn't think we were gonna be out there for that long, but we ended up out there for I want to say at least 8 hours, just in the sun, in the water.
Right
the whole
water,
time,
basically.
just in the water for like 8 hours, having a couple beers, And it didn't feel that bad until we got back, and I felt so exhausted and so sick.
Oh.
I passed out on the couch. Like I got heat stroke, right? It was like
Yeah.
straight up heat stroke. I
Oh,
remember.
you got it really bad. Yep.
Yeah, I apparently do not get along with the sun. PSA is just wear sunscreen, and we were
Yeah.
both suffering, but I got it real bad. I won't get graphic, but
We were dehydrated too.
dehydrated.
Also.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
I woke up after like some of you guys went to town, and then like I woke up, felt horrifyingly bad, drank a bunch of water, trying to beat the heat stroke. I mean, it was strictly heat stroke. That was just, I've never had it before. That turned into the world's worst sunburn, a trip to urgent care when I got home, because if you don't know anything about sunburn, devil's itch, man, that was, because I know you got a little bit of that.
yeah.
But mine,
Oh yeah.
I don't know about you. Mine, I mean, I was screaming. It was your
Oh yeah.
entire upper body, chest, back was just getting all terribly blistered. Like that's
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
But it's
It was.
blistered.
It was not
the
a good
itch,
time, man.
nerve
at all.
damage, nerve damaging
Yeah.
itch. And then here's me at home, and here's River
Still outside.
Still
camping
outside.
for a week.
camping in the UP.
Yeah.
It was. I honestly can't believe you made it through that well.
It wasn't great. The first couple days was not great. Yeah. If you ask Josh, it wasn't. It was applying aloe and just trying to keep a shirt on, and
So,
obviously it was. Yeah, this was right at the end of the trip. Actually, this was just absolutely gorgeous spot. That's Lake Michigan behind us. We're basically on the coast, or on the shore of Lake Michigan. There's me cooking some lunch. The weather was absolutely perfect. Luckily, after all the bugs and everything that we fought for 5 days straight, the last 2 days of it was perfect. No bugs. Just the weather was great. No rain, nothing. And that spot was just absolutely gorgeous. And we could just walk out right in the middle of the water. And it was just, yeah. Yep, there's my buddy Josh and Skylar. That was awesome, man. That sunset right there, it's a forever memory for me.
well, that's
Just us chilling out there, because there's nobody anywhere.
Right.
It's not like I'm cropping people out and along the shore there. In every direction, you can't see signs of human life at all. Like, we were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and the thing that I absolutely loved about you going on this trip was that, I mean, you're so used to getting around in the hills, right? You got the hills, or you go to
Yeah.
places with mountains, you got places with, valleys, gorges, everything like that. And now you're coming back to an area that, for the longest time you knew that there was camping opportunities, but like it's questionable in comparison to what you're used to.
It's honestly hard up there to find dispersed camping.
Right.
It is very, very difficult. It's nothing like out here where there's just BLM land and Forest Service land. We struggled a lot to find camping in certain spots. Even way up in the UP, it gets easier, but it's still kind of difficult.
Right.
But yeah, in comparison to out west here, it is a lot more difficult to find camping out there. Especially like good camping, and if you're looking for something with a view, or if you're not picky, even, it's still just difficult.
Right.
There's just not as much public land up there because it's just a small area, right? The UP really isn't that big. There's just a lot of private land. So
Right.
luckily, we were able to find some really good campsites, especially that last one. But it was a great trip. Great trip.
Yeah, that was, well, and like I said, it was cool because for you, I mean, it was a kind of a horizon broadening moment because you were out here instead of out there.
Yeah. It's not where I'm used to camping at all.
And the scenery
Yep.
is completely different. Like you're seeing just big shores. Did you guys hit up any of the cool stuff up in the UP, like picture rocks and things like that, or did you do anything?
So
like
yeah, there was a couple of we went to that missile launch site that was
Sure.
up there at the very very northern part.
Did you guys go
of that.
to what's that Air Force base that's I think abandoned now? It used to be the B-52 base.
Oh, no.
Man, I forgot what it's called, but there's a really big Air Force base up there near there. But yeah, that'd be another one. We should check that out if you ever come back this way. We'll go up there.
Yeah.
because I want to go find that place and check it out.
I didn't know that was a thing at all. Thing is, this happened, it was a day.
Yeah.
It was a matter of a day of me being home, and Josh was like, I'm going to take a week off of work. You want to go camping? And I was like, sure. And then on my way out there, you're like, hey, do you want to come up here? And I was like, sure. Like, none of this was planned at all.
Completely impromptu.
It was all planned in the moment. Yeah, so we didn't have enough time to actually research these things. which a lot of times is how I like it. I like spontaneous trips like that. It makes it more interesting, and it's more of an adventure for sure, but it could also be very frustrating.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Trying to rush into finding campsites and
Yeah,
uh,
no, well, even up by you where there's a lot of options. It's that rushing. I never. I'm pretty nonchalant. I like just being out there, and I
yeah,
remember all of a sudden it starts getting dark, and out there is by you is hard enough, but up there it's difficult. So it starts to get dark. You start to be like, all right, how am I supposed to find this place? Nonetheless, get set up in it.
yeah.
So
It's not too bad out here. I mean, if you don't really mind where you're camping and if you're not picky about it, it's very easy to find camping out here.
right,
As long as if you're tent camping, on the ground, it's harder trying to find a nice flat level spot. It's harder to do that. But if you're in a rooftop tent, it's fairly easy, or a camper or something that you can level out. It's not
right,
too bad. But yeah, if you want trying to find really, really good spots, yes, you can spend some time looking, and that's why I like camping out here. Is now I kind of know where all these spots are. I don't really have to spend time looking for them, but I still enjoy just going
right,
out on Forest Service roads and just exploring and scouting out campsites, and especially when the weather's not quite so great like this time of year. It's
right.
perfect just to go out there and run trails and find sites for later when the weather is nice. But yeah,
I agree. But speaking of scenery, dude, these pictures that I'm about to pull up,
okay,
every time you
yeah.
send them to me, I am just gushing, man. Like I love
So
this right here.
this trip was last November. This was right before the accident. It was the day I got home from this trip was when I got hit. Literally the day after. This is in Utah, at an undisclosed location in Utah.
Which that's
uh,
surprising that right there is Utah. Nobody when you say Utah, unless
yeah,
they're into this sort of thing, but like the typical idea of Utah, right, is more like I don't know the geography of it, but it's like more like the northern area, right, where it's all the the more mountainy and foresty and stuff like that. Because this
that's
is
weird that you think that actually, because my thought of Utah is more like the canyons and rocks. Like when you
right,
said that, I was like, that's weird because to me that's just Utah, right? What I just saw,
yeah.
like the rocks, the sandstone, and
Am I, or maybe
that's
I'm thinking about the
rocks.
wrong state, man. I don't know. I'm
You
into
might be.
cars. I don't study geography. I might have a map right here, but I don't know. But okay, but seriously though, I mean like that view is incredible. And I'm a huge scenery person. I just love seeing things that aren't like, I live in Wisconsin. So like I get trees, and unless you find beauty in like the small things, right? Which there's a lot of quirky beauty about Wisconsin, small towns,
Yeah.
rivers, things like that. I'll never complain about that. But I will say that this kind of stuff is just so different and so cool that most people up this way that don't travel, you see it in movies. You see it online. You
Yeah.
see your people like you posting it on Instagram, but you never see it in person. And once you get out there and see it in person, I haven't been this far, but hopefully this year I'm going to be able to get down there where we can boogie on some, more southwestern stuff. But this stuff just, oh, I love
It's
it so
gorgeous,
much.
man. This was right during sunrise. I did not want to get out of the tent at all. It was very cold because, like I said, it was in November, and even though it looks nice and warm here, yeah, it was probably about 20 degrees outside and very windy. But yeah, during sunrise, I had to get up and you got to shoot the sunrise, and I'm glad I did for that first picture, man. That first picture,
Dude,
for me, that really does it.
that's the one.
You got the clouds, and you got Skylar sniffing around for some food on the ground, and
Oh,
yeah, it's I love that shot.
heck yeah.
But yeah, so that trip
It's the rocks for me,
was
man. The rock, your
yeah.
levelers. I love it.
Oh yeah,
This
the
man,
Crocs.
I will attest. This man. So you still use rocks, right? Like that's a normal thing.
Yes.
Because this man, we would pull up at a campsite the first time I went out there, right? And we would spend so much time trying to find the perfect rocks to level things.
I
And
used to be way obsessive about it.
just
I'm not like that anymore. Now it's just you get that front and back level, and
right.
you can just sleep with your head uphill anymore. It's I'm not nearly as picky, but yes,
This
when I
man
first
busted
got my
out the level,
Crosstrek,
just like, all right, we need a rock
yeah,
this big because my level is just till. And he would go, and meanwhile, I'm just parking, tossing the tent out, like, what are you doing?
yeah. Oh no,
Oh,
I won't lie. I definitely used to go way overboard with the leveling.
it was
for
great.
sure.
But it makes sense though,
But
especially if you're parking for a long time, you're trying to be comfortable.
yeah,
It really does help to be level because speaking from a tenter's point of view, because I don't have a setup like this. I go out in the woods and I just throw a tent down in a cheap sleeping bag, or I got a nice sleeping bag, but it's cheap. What do you call that? Mattress, air mattress.
airbed. Yep.
But you'll wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and you're like feel like the earth is moving because you're like completely off kilter. You're laying sideways, rolling downhill, and you got to shuffle everything around just to get it bearable. And so I think by the end of that trip, I was starting to really take time doing that. But I mean, it was funny because we'd be like, all right, rock forward, put the rock. All right, back up. No, don't hold up. Put another rock in there. All right, back up.
Yeah, as long as you get it close. Like I said, for me now, as long as I can just get the side to side level, and that site was really unlevel. You can't really tell, but
Right.
that was a very very sloped site.
Well, I
so
think if you think about it, if you're level here, that
it's
shows
not even
that
it's not even close
it
to
is
level.
very
right there.
off. Like, look at that.
yeah.
That's insane.
It wasn't even close, and yeah, that rock up there was close to a foot tall. So
Yes.
yeah, it was making it bearable is all it was doing. Yeah, it was still nowhere near level, but it was enough, which is all you can really do.
Right. But I mean, it
but
makes sense.
yeah, so that trip was last November. So we went all the way down through Colorado,
Sure.
and then through Utah,
Mhm.
and then south through Arizona, and then the weather was still kind of cold, so we went all the way down to California. Ended up being like 1,600 miles. And we're like one way, and we're
Jeez.
like, if we're down in California, we might as well hit up Joshua Tree. And Joshua Tree was super cool area. Never been to California with my own vehicle. I've been there once when I was a kid, but super cool to be that far away and be exploring someplace completely new. Like the terrain in the desert there, man. The what they call the Mojave is
Yep.
something else, man. It looks like you're in Fallout because
Yep.
that's what
Good
they're. I
old-fashioned
couldn't stop
Fallout.
thinking that. Yeah,
Oh,
like I'm sitting in Fallout and yeah, seeing all the Joshua trees and yeah, super cool area.
I love it.
And then on the way back up, I hit Zion and Bryce Canyon and all that. I think there's a Zion picture in there somewhere.
I think this is
Yep.
Zion, right? That looks familiar.
Yep. There's 2 Zion pictures, I think. Yeah, the Zion was incredible, man. I
Dude,
haven't
that
seen
is
Zion since I was an adult. It was
insane.
unbelievable. I've never been to a national park that has made me like just absolutely blown away the way Zion does. And I mean, it's the most popular national park in the country for a reason.
yeah.
It's just it's insane.
There's definitely a reason for it. I mean, Zion is just it's an interesting park, right? Because it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've never been out there, right? But
Yeah.
I kind of got a gist of it because you're pretty much in a canyon, right? Like, I mean, you're in
Yeah,
a canyon, but there's
it's
there's a lot
weird.
of shrubbery though. It's a lot of green. Like, you think
Yeah.
about the canyon, you think about the Grand Canyon. A lot of it's just just dirt and rock. But Zion is
It's
a little bit
really
different.
it's really weird because you're driving out in Utah, and a lot of Utah, it's just mostly rolling hills that are just sort of rocky and look fairly normal.
Right.
And both Zion and Bryce Canyon are like this. And then as you're coming out of these fairly normal environment, out of just nowhere is this. To Zion just comes. It looks like it's built there. You know what I mean? Like it's such a concentrated area
Right.
that it's just crazy that these were just able to form into such a small area, and it's just around it is seemingly normal.
Right.
You know? And Bryce Canyon is the same way. Like there's no evidence as you're coming up to it that it doesn't like slowly sort of build up. You know, it's just like all of a sudden you're there.
Yep.
And it's like Bryce Canyon's there, and then Zion's just there.
No, that's insane. And it kind of reminds me too of like out by you have the Badlands, and when you're driving out there, it's just rolling hills, rolling hills, rolling hills, and depending on which way you come at it, all of a sudden, like
Yeah.
from one way, you're just like, oh, rolling hills, flat, 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 wall, and
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yep.
I want to know. So was that like a lake bed at one time where that wall comes from? Because that also just pops out of nowhere, and then the actual Badlands itself, that's just insane. I remember because we went through there, and that's like freaking Mars.
Oh yeah, no, Badlands is super beautiful out here in the South Dakota. I was about to say the Black Hills. That's by the Black Hills, but
That's near. It was near enough for Bear Grylls to get there on Man vs. Wild by foot.
yeah,
like
supposedly
15 minutes.
yeah, even though it's like an hour. away by car. But
Literally.
yeah, that Man versus Wild episode was a little bit unrealistic, but
Yeah, I love that show still, but it's also like this man's eating steak and lobster while running 15 minutes from the Black
oh
Hills
yeah,
to the
yeah,
Badlands.
he's at the middle of nowhere at Hippie Hole, and it's actually a very popular cliff jumping spot.
Oh,
Yeah,
man should just be an Instagram traveler.
yeah,
Oh man, out here in the remote wilderness of the Black Hills, 5 feet from the road.
yeah.
I was like,
Oh
I
yeah,
remember that the Badlands episode when he was like on that one spot. We drove up to the spot that he filmed
yeah.
at. Like we were like,
Yep.
he was filmed at an
Yeah.
angle that just made it so that the parking lot wasn't there, but he was literally like
Yeah.
10 feet from the parking lot. Like, oh, we're gonna survive in the Badlands in the middle of nowhere. That's amazing. But yeah, I think it's
Right.
needless to say though. I mean, you've got 50,000 miles on in 2 years. And none of that, I'm just saying, like, none of that is office to office commuting. None of that is
No.
just bumming to get to, get to work every day, right? I mean, you're pretty much a
No.
full-time student besides during, the farming season. So that's insane. That's a lot of adventure time on a Subaru for 2 years. And
Yeah.
here's the big question. So you've got all this adventuring under your belt. How many problems have you had with it?
None.
Isn't
Would you believe in none?
literally none. And that's the thing.
None.
Zero.
Not until the accident.
Yeah. Everything was fine until the accident.
Yeah.
But no, like literally 0 problems because people talk about Subarus, at least in general,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, CVTs are real bad and head gaskets, bro, you'll be replacing them left and right and yada yada. But I mean, you put this thing through the ringer, and
Yeah.
of course, it's only 15 or 50,000 miles in the scheme of things, but at the same time, in 2 years, all of
Yeah.
the precarious moments with the car doing things that 99% of people with the Crosstrek aren't going to do. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've had no issues, and I think again a lot of that has to do with the way I take care of it. I was changing the CVT fluid at 30,000 miles. On top of the oil, I've never gone over my oil at all. Every 6,000 miles, all the fluids, like in general. I did actually just slightly dent my trailing arm in the back, but it didn't actually break. That's the only thing. As far as issues I've had with it, but no problems. Head gaskets, that's an EJ problem, not an FB engine problem.
Right.
The CVTs, people talk about having issues. It seems like a lot of them are on the turbos, on the XT Foresters and Outbacks, just with the power that they're putting out. But if you're changing the fluid every 30,000 miles, if you're really running it hard, I don't think you should have any issues. And running a cooler, if your temperatures are getting up there, monitoring your temperatures with
Right.
like a scan gauge is super important, both engine oil and CVT temperatures. I don't have any coolers on mine yet. I'm going to be putting a CVT cooler on and an oil cooler because of the 30s. Just think it's good peace of mind.
Right.
But other than the occasional valve bodies I've heard on these CVTs around 130,000 miles, that's really the only issues I've heard with these sort of CVTs. I haven't heard of complete failures on Crosstreks.
Sure.
But yeah, most of these problems can be avoided with proper maintenance, and I'm a big believer in
I
that.
think that speaks to volumes for most cars, honestly. Is
Yeah.
like a lot of cars that have, especially mass-produced cars, when a lot of people are driving them, the more they're on the road, the more you're gonna have issues. But a lot of people, like, let's be real honest. How many people actually take care of their cars?
Yeah.
People watching this podcast probably take care of their cars. People that
Mm.
treat their cars like a microwave, it's just an appliance that they just kind of forget about besides when they're driving to work, back in the grocery store. They don't take care of their cars very well normally. So that's when
Yeah.
you start to have issues. That's why it's like, most Volkswagens, besides electrical issues, because me, I have 2 daily Volkswagens in the family.
Yeah.
And electrical issues, sure, gremlins, that's a given. But the actual cars themselves, when people talk about, hey, this is a problem, 90% of the time it's because it's just not maintained, and you're gonna have an issue. And that. Oh, good.
I was gonna say electrical problems. That's one thing that maintenance really won't.
Yeah, you can't do anything
prevent,
about that.
like-
It's just welcome to owning German cars is really what it comes down
Yeah.
to, where you start to
Yep.
have those.
Mhm.
But okay, so now we're talking reliable cars, right? We're talking about a Subaru not breaking. We're talking about adventure. I think after an hour and 20 minutes, oh my God, an hour and 20 minutes,
Has been long. Yeah.
I think it's time to break down into our last segment here,
Okay.
which this is where I get to have fun, right? This is the part for both of us that was a really cool adventure. So to paint the picture, December, I think it was December 12th was whenever the Broncos home game was in December, around the 12th. Okay, and it was a Saturday night. Let's go the night before the game. Earlier that week, I flew out to Colorado, and I went out there with my mom, who wanted to kind of have like a nice, mother-son trip that we've never done before. And I was on layoff from my last job, and I was just bored, and she asked me to go with her, and so I said yes. I got out there, had a couple days of adventure, really soaking it up, loving it, better than sitting at home. But then Saturday comes around, all right? Saturday comes around, I am just itching that we have to go back home on Monday, and I'm not having it. I'm like, I don't have any reason to go besides the fact that I have a plane ticket with my name on it, and, like, I've got to go. And so I concocted an idea, probably around like 7, 8 o'clock at night on Saturday, that I messaged you on Snapchat, and I said, River, what if I just messed around and bought a car out here, and we just did a Top Gear style, like, let's just buy a cheap car and then hang out for however much time and then get it home. That's exactly what happened. Usually I talk a lot. I say a lot. Is there a lot of follow through? Not normally.
I pushed you to actually do it.
Well, it started with then, I'm sitting here, my mom's out, all of her friends that live out there, and I'm just sitting here at the bar, kind of alone, just at the table, and I'm just like sitting there scrolling through, and I start going on Facebook Marketplace out there in Denver, and I found a Forester that I've absolutely loved. I thought it was great. I messaged the guy. It was like a black Forester base model with a manual transmission, and it was stupid clean. And he wanted like $2,500 for it. I'm like, should I be spending $2,500 on a kind of what might be considered a joke? Probably not. But let's just see what he says.
I wanted a winter car anyway.
Yeah, I do. I really did want a winter car just to make things easier. Like, it's funny because now my commute's along and I still take the Volkswagen. But when it snows like it did today, which I've got a picture of, it's real nice to have the Subaru to rip around in. But that went downhill. And that guy just stopped replying, and then he sold it like 25. It was like 25 minutes. Cars out there do not last on Marketplace.
No, not in the winter. Not Subarus.
Yes.
Nope.
And so here I am concocting. I called my wife, and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of thinking about doing this. What do you say? And she's like, you're out there. You only get one chance to do a lot of stuff. Just do it. Just whatever. It's fine. I'm like, if that's a yes, then I'm for sure doing this. So kept scrolling. All of a sudden, River, you messaged me, and you're like, I found the car. And I'm like,
buy it.
I
said,
you
need
like,
to jump
buy
on this
it
right now.
And I was like, I opened it. I'm like, if this car doesn't scream like me personality-wise, I don't know what weird Subaru does. And so I see this car. We'll dig into it a little bit deeper. But I see this car, message the guy. It was 20. You sent it to me 20 minutes after this guy posted it for sale. 20 minutes after it gets posted. And I messaged the guy, let him know, hey, like, this is what I'm trying to do. I literally laid it out for him. Like, look, tell me that this car is reliable. Tell me that this thing is getting there. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's got 230-some thousand miles on it. But he's like, I drove it to, from Colorado, bought it in Oregon, brought it here, drove back and forth a handful of times, and yada, yada. He's like, yeah, it's a runner. It's never left me stranded. And I'm like, I like where this is going. So, again, this is Saturday night. Like, now it's probably 10 o'clock at night out there. And I told the guy, I'm like, well, here's the problem. I'm not from around here. Can you bring it to the hotel? And he's like, yeah, what time do you want me there? So him and his girlfriend brought this thing to the hotel. And I get out of the hotel. Dude's like, oh, I'm here. Walk over there. And this.
Look at it, though. Come on.
It's so beautiful. I love it so much. So it's a 1993 Legacy Wagon, first gen, 4-speed automatic, which is a problem at this very moment. She's a little paraplegic right now, but it's a 4-speed automatic EJ22. Unequal length headers from the factory, and it's actually kind of comfortable. So anyways, he pulls up with this car, And I'm looking at it, and my first thought is, what the hell am I doing? Like, straight up just looking at it, because in some of the other pictures, like, you'll see, like, actually, this is the good side. I don't know if I took any pictures of the bad side. There you go.
A little bit of fading.
Like,
but...
it was the peeling clear coat and everything. Just, and I'm not used to that, because I'm one that buys typically, you know, for regular drivers. I buy pretty new cars. Like, I like having, you know, clean, new, reliable stuff. But then he asked me to, he's like, hey, you want to drive it? And I'm like, absolutely. So drove it, tested its all-wheel drive. There was one thing that I noticed, but it wasn't going to stop me from saying yes, was, you know, the four-wheel drive was binding up a little bit. But anyways, lo and behold, he was asking $2,500, something like that for it. And I just asked him, hey, you know, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm just trying to save money. What's the lowest bottom dollar you take for this car? That's always been my thing, is what is your rock bottom dollar that you'll take for this car today? And this guy was just like, you know what? I think that's pretty cool, and I paid $1,500 for this 4 years ago. So if you give me $1,500, I think it's solid. I'm like, you got a deal, my friend. So bought it, literally signed the title over in the hotel lobby, and then he had to jet to get to something, and I had to leave. I had to go to a football game. I went out to the NFL game out there. So I just left this in the parking lot. Like, I just locked it with the you know, this doesn't have electric locks. So I just go out there and lock it. I think I might have drove it around a little bit without any coolant in it. But it's
it
fine.
had none.
That was just empty. But somehow it was fine. It's cool. But that's when the real plan kicked in, was now that it happened and we were doing this, we had to have a little support just in case this plan fell through, right? So that's where you came into play. So while I was getting ready and going to the football game, you were driving the almost 7 hours.
It is about 5.5, 6 hours.
5.5?
Yeah, down to Denver. To be completely honest with you, I didn't expect you to actually buy something. Like, I was pushing you, but I'm like, you wanted to come up here to the Black Hills,
Yep.
And I was thinking, man, he just bought this car. It's got 230-something thousand miles on it. I don't want him ending up in the middle of absolutely nowhere and having this thing blow up on him. So
Yes.
I'm just going to drive down there and support him to come back up. You know, just drive along with him. So at least if it blows up, you'll have another car to get a ride somewhere, get parts or something.
Right.
And
which was much appreciated. That was another mind-blowing part, was I didn't expect you to drive that far, and then you did.
Oh, I'm always down for something spontaneous like that.
Goofiness. Which, I don't know, man. That was just, I didn't think I was going to do it either. I had the keys in my pocket all day, and I'm like, what am I doing? Did I just do that? I'm in Colorado. Like, I'm supposed to be home in 2 days. Like, why did I do that? I'm like, I'm also laid off from work because I was in asphalt at the time as a kind of a filler job. So it was winter, so we couldn't work. So I'm just like, what did I do? But also in the back of my head, I'm going, I watched Top Gear and the Grand Tour for how many years? And I was like, we're literally just doing that challenge where it's like, all right, we got to get from A to B. And for us, it was A to B to C in a cheap, hilarious car. And we did it. We even had a little, like just a tiny bit of the integer where we had to modify it a little bit.
Yeah, eventually, once we got it back, first we had to get the thing actually ready to go anywhere, which was putting like 4 gallons of coolant in it. I don't know how the thing took so much coolant. It just kept on taking it.
But this is the funny part, though, right? It doesn't leak. Mostly. It's got that gasket. I've been watching it in my driveway. Literally haven't seen a drip, and it's been at the same level of coolant since we actually replaced everything into the thermostat. It's been the same. There's no liquid coming from anywhere underneath that car that I can see, and the snow is a great place to see it. Haven't seen a drop.
Just hope it's not going into the cylinder heads then.
Yes. That we're gonna ignore that because she's not smoking.
It's an EJ22.
She's not
It's
smoking.
a 22. They don't have issues with head gaskets.
Yeah.
I mean, it can happen on any engine, but like those EJ22s are bulletproof, man. They're bulletproof.
Well, and that was half of the battle, was do I buy something this old? And knowing that engine, I did some research in the bar, like while I was doing, I'm looking up this engine, like, is this going to be good? And then he pulls up and the belt was recently replaced. He gave me a stack of paperwork this thick. I don't know where it went, and then I found it. Like, I had it on my desk back here, and so I was really bored the other day, and I started flipping through. Like, this thing had a lot of stuff done to it to keep it on the road, and it was kind of impressive. And I didn't see any paperwork in there that eluded me that there was a major issue. There was just a ton of maintenance done to this thing. So yeah,
It's taken care of for sure.
besides bouncing off rocks and stuff, whatever we found underneath.
Yeah, underneath, man, that thing had gone places. I'd never seen 4-pans that bashed in.
But there's no
And
holes.
the rocker panels, yeah.
Everything was just
The
bent.
pinch welds are flat.
There's
there's
nothing left underneath there.
Yeah.
But it's clean. There was no rust. There's one spot of rust where you'll see it in one of the pictures, but like other than that, there's like literally no rust. The thing is an absolute champ. But the adventure part, right? So all this happens. We decide that we're gonna do it. You get down there. I leave the football game. You got to the hotel like probably 45 minutes after we got back from the game. And the first thing that I had to do was, I'm like, dude, we got to go for a rip in this thing. I got to show you, and it's dark out. So we took this thing, still had no coolant in it. I never thought to like stop and actually do anything about it. I was like, the reservoir is probably just a little empty. So we burned it all the way up this mountain to the lookout, which is that's Denver in the background here, which is that was such a cool sight. It reminds me of Skyline Drive out by you, but
Yeah.
this was it's like take Rapid City and expand it like 10 times. I mean, it's insane up there. So we did the mountain run, right? We brought it up there the entire time, just laughing like children about all the weird junk that we kept figuring out with it.
It's fun. That was a core memory right there for me, was bombing up on that road in this, what was basically an 80s wagon. I mean, it was the 90s really, but I mean, they basically started in the late 80s, so it felt like it was an 80s car, right?
Legit.
And yeah, that was just I didn't know if we were gonna get back to the hotel. I mean,
Literally,
like, I didn't know what was gonna happen.
We had no idea.
We could have ended up stuck right there all night. I don't know.
But the nice thing is, we could have been on the hotel or on the high, road. We could just pushed ourselves downhill.
Yeah, in theory.
As long as the brakes still work. After this spot, it was all downhill, winding roads. I mean, I felt like we're in like the episode of like Grandpa's Wagon Initial D, right? You're just bombing down this hill with all the tight, twisty turns in this car that has more body roll than me. It was just rough, dude. But it was fun. And then the speed bumps. Remember hitting the speed bumps?
Yes,
just
the speed
launching
bumps,
the speed
you didn't
bumps.
feel it. Like the struts in that thing, they had no rebound at all. You go over speed bumps, the thing would just absorb it. You didn't even feel
the
it.
first one we didn't realize because the headlights are so bad. And we hit it at like 45 miles an hour on these big speed bumps, and it was just like, squeak? But yeah, so we did that. We ripped around. I mean, we both decided by the end of that, we're like, okay, well, this thing's working. It's got its quirks, half the dash is burnt out. Can't see anything at night. The tint was so dark. The limo tint on that thing, it was just obnoxious. Yeah, and so we got back to the hotel, and this was during the accident time.
Right?
Yeah, so we parked together.
Yeah.
Look at the difference in these two vehicles. Like this right here is so good. It's just so boxy.
One of these is good, and
It's
one
so
of them
strange.
just got T-boned a couple days ago.
and I mean, don't get me wrong, this one's better, but this is great. But so we got the car back, and next morning it was kind of a crapshoot, because this is the caveat to this story was the fact of the matter. Not only did we have this strange car, right, but we had a giant blizzard barreling,
the biggest blizzard in like 5 years,
just barreling
coming
across
to South
the plains.
Dakota. Yeah.
And so I wish I could pull up a map, right? But you're going from Colorado north into Wyoming, and then about halfway through Wyoming, you're hooking it right and heading into the Black Hills, just south of the Black Hills, and wrapping around to get into Rapid City. So we had this choice, like, are we going to go and do camping? Like, not camping, but are we going to go a little off-roading on some trails and see some things that we want to see? But something kept screaming at me, and not just your dad, not just your father, but there was something telling me that we should probably get on the road early and just make it back just in case. And
I was willing to live dangerously. I was, and honestly, looking back, like, we didn't know what was going to happen, right? We had no idea, but I still wish we would have. But yeah,
I think we just need to do a part two.
Worse.
I think we need to do a part two where we don't buy a meme car and I just come out there and we go on a nice trip and hit all these places. But so snowstorm's coming. Get on the road. I forgot what time we left, but the first thing is we stopped at this gas station. So if you don't know, this is the Origin Red Rocks Hotel, just outside of Red Rocks, Colorado. And then over here, this gas station at the old Come and Go. The old Come and Go. We had the opportunity.
That's
literally, man. Story of my life. But we get in there and we grab oil, and we grab antifreeze, we grab oil, I had ATF fluid in the back of the car. We grabbed a bunch of other stuff, and we sat out in the parking lot. We checked the tire pressure, which was a surprising like 24 psi, but it only called for 26 psi. So that was strange. We kind of bumped that up a little bit for all the highway driving, and then filled the reservoir as much as we could with antifreeze, waiting to see a leak or it pouring out somewhere. Never happened. Added some oil and prayed. We hope for the best.
That was it.
I left it.
Set off.
So one of the things that I find really funny, so as a diagnostic tool or as a, I found out the real reason by this, by the way. You might know this, probably know this. But I kept this car in front wheel drive. So these old Subarus, you had a fuse in there that if you put it in, it would lock it in a front wheel drive. If you took it out, it would be all wheel drive. Typically you leave it out, right? And you're in all wheel drive. But what I found out on researching this, because I thought it was just a joke, like a meme, right, is that they don't advise you to put a spare tire. Obviously, now it makes sense to put a spare tire on the front wheels of the car. So what you need to do is you need to put it in front wheel drive.
Is that why?
Yeah, and then you have to.
It's
why, so that you can take the tire off of the back, put it on the front, and then put the spare tire on the back while it's limped in all wheel or in front wheel drive. So that's why it's there.
That's a solution they came up with before they gave you a full diameter spare.
Yes, that was precisely what it was.
I didn't know that.
For the donuts. So that's why it does that. But now here's the thing: we just left it in front wheel drive because I wasn't about to drive down the highway in all wheel drive in good weather, and that's just more components working that could possibly fail until we can actually look at this thing. So we hit the road, and we got out of Colorado, no problems. It was funny, because I had the Bluetooth speaker. I think I borrowed your Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
Because the radio is, every time you hit a bump, the radio, which you can tell, from the pictures, there's no antenna anymore. So the radio would barely work, but when it did, it would just you hit a bump and it just switches whatever speaker it wants. It's just oh, we got music over here. Oh, we got music back there. So about 2-3 hours in, got the stereo going. That was a lifesaver. Because I get bored easily. And Wyoming, I'm sorry, Wyoming, but at least on the east side, Wyoming.
Most of Wyoming.
Boring.
Yes, there are beautiful places in Wyoming.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, if you're
up
driving
by the
through,
hills.
yes.
That's awesome. That looks great.
Yep.
But driving
Tetons, Yellowstone. Oh, yeah. There's definitely a lot of beauty in Wyoming. But, yeah, that sort of southeast corner is not a lot. Not a lot going
on. No, not at all. So it was a lifesaver to have some music. And so anyways, we're going down the road. We stopped at a couple gas stations. Had to get the stickers, right? I got the Colorado sticker on the window, got the Wyoming sticker on the window, finally got the South Dakota sticker on the window, trying to start adding to the fleet. Never added the Minnesota sticker because Minnesota's not great. So I'm like, I don't want to brag that I had to drive through Minnesota, all right? Maybe that's a rivalry thing being from Wisconsin, but it's highway. And there was nothing like that.
All highway,
the route
for being
is
honest.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But I mean, I don't know, Minnesota.
We were going on the Oregon Trail here. Let's be honest.
We were on the Oregon Trail actually. Half of our party got dysentery, and it was a terrible time. Took several weeks to get back. No. But so anyways, it was uneventful, honestly. Yeah. It was a flat drive. Nothing went wrong. We stopped at an Arby's. It was I think Arby's was the only restaurant in that town of Wyoming. Whatever that town was, felt like Bizarro World, man. I felt like you were going to see a gaggle of miners walking out in the street. It was just, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be that guy, but it was just dingy and just nothing. And then an Arby's, a brand new Arby's just on this street corner by all this scrap. And then you got an Arby's fitting. But we checked everything there. Without a hitch, everything was fine, right? And continued on our merry way. So I was actually a little sad that it didn't do anything wrong until we got into South Dakota, and I noticed one small thing that I
Once
wasn't
it started
having.
to snow,
It started
right?
to. Well, it was funny.
got
It
cold.
started to get real cold, and
Yeah.
it wasn't really snowing. But what I had found was now we've got elevation to deal with, where we're going uphill and downhill. And every time I would go downhill, the thermostat would stick open and the temperature would just plummet. And so, like, the heat didn't work, the defrost didn't work, everything was busted, and it was not too bad though because there wasn't a lot of snow or rain.
Mhm.
Then we went to Walmart. So we go to Walmart,
Yeah.
and the temperature dropped like 15 degrees while we were at Walmart, and then it started to rain.
Everything just rolled in. The second we stopped driving home and actually had to get some groceries, which is a good thing that we did.
Yes.
At the looking back, because we didn't know that we had like a week of the worst blizzard in the last couple of years
Well,
rolling in.
I remember going into Walmart and both of us were just like making fun of people, right? We're just making fun of the situation because people are like panic buying. It's the toilet paper all over again. People are buying
Nothing.
everything, and it's all the weird stuff, like
Yeah.
all the non-perishables that you want in a survival situation, completely untouched. All the junk food and produce and all this stuff that like if you're to
Yeah.
stockpile stuff, all the wrong stuff was sold out. So we're looking around like, what do we buy?
Yeah, all the vegetables, all like the bread, like everything, man. The shelves were empty.
Yeah.
People had gotten in there.
You'd have thought it was the apocalypse walking in there. I mean, it
Yeah.
was insane.
Oh yeah.
Lines
It was weird.
crazy.
Yeah, it was super weird, man. It was just a day or two before that blizzard hit. People just went crazy.
Dude, it was insane. But we had made fun of it, and then we got proven wrong that we were idiots. So
Yes.
we go to leave, and we were like, well, let's go to Jimmy John's. Well, first of all, on the way home, I physically like had to rip the tint off because not only was it peeling itself, but it was so dark I couldn't see anything. So I ripped that off. Well, what that did was made it so that I couldn't roll down the window. It's still sticky like that too. Like I haven't gotten a chance to scrape it off. So the adhesive from the tint is there. So you've got like your little rubber strip here, and then the window comes down. It just goes like this, and then stops the window, and the motor just starts to go like, brrr, and you're like, okay, all right, I won't roll you down unless it's sub-zero. Then it works. But so I remember we went to Jimmy John's. I had to go inside, and I like walk past you in the drive-thru. I'm like, dude, I can't get my window down. I'm going in. Got my sandwich. Get in the car. Rain. And it's like 20-degree rain.
Freezing
Made
rain.
no sense,
Yep.
man. It was 20 degrees, if that, and raining. And because of how cold it was, the thermostat just naturally wouldn't come up to temperature. And it just stayed stuck. So we start driving. I'm thinking, everything's good. I think if I remember correctly, I put it back in four-wheel drive, and everything was like, let's go. But the problem was, I also am a moron. And when I say I'm a moron, I really mean I'm a moron. We were going down the highway. Defrost isn't working. I had a friggin' jug of windshield wiper fluid that was defrosting wiper fluid, and I kept pulling the stock and it just wouldn't spray. I'm like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. There's no motor, like the pump is dead. And so I'm like driving down. I'm literally driving, looking out this much. It was like a freaking cartoon. I'm looking through this much. The rest of it is completely iced over on the highway in an ice storm where it's literally slicker than hell out there. And we get to the off ramp, and I called you, and I'm like, dude, I'm panicking. I cannot see. Like, this is the part of the trip that gets weird because
I kept you on the phone with me.
I know.
Like, just keep talking to me the whole way.
Yeah, like
I thought I was gonna like lose you in the forest or something. I'm like, just follow the sound of my voice.
And so I'm like, I'm hauling behind you. Well, I couldn't also see peripheral, right? So we get off the highway, and then all of a sudden, you're going left because there's that turnaround for the semi trucks.
Mm.
I couldn't see that was even where we were. So then all of a sudden, I see you hit your brakes and start to go to the left, which you were able to. Well, then I'm on like these $50 Walmart tires, and I go to slam on the brakes and like, oh my god, I got to turn, and the whole car is just like, we're just going ice skating. Luckily, with the four-wheel drive, I was able to get it back under control and just kind of, rip it into the parking lot and get it out. So then we had to get rid of the ice, and here comes River with a 2x4.
2x4. What did I have?
You had a block
yeah.
of wood, dude, because
Yeah,
you don't believe in scrapers.
Yeah, for some reason this time of year I didn't carry an ice scraper at all.
And I didn't
because
buy one.
It never snows here or ever. We don't have a winter, I guess. So I had a 2x4 underneath my floor in the back because at the time I didn't have my drawer system in there, and it was like spacing up my floor. So I just give him a block of wood, and the guy's out there with a block of wood scraping it.
And I was pouring the windshield wiper fluid over the
That might not have
window.
been a good idea looking back.
It worked really well until I hit the wipers. I shouldn't have hit the
So it
wipers.
froze again.
Well, I hit the
Yeah.
wipers, and when it smeared it, it instantly froze it again.
Smeared it.
Yeah. But so we get that back on the road. You know, we were just a few minutes from your house, but I'm still like, it's freezing up again, and it was terrible. But we got back, and by the end of the night, we were there, and there she is in all of her glory.
It doesn't look that bad.
It doesn't.
I mean, you look outside, you
straight
can't
up
tell
looks-
that it's freezing rain.
It straight
just
up looks normal, but like quite literally, you could see just barely there's some white right there.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
this is also that limo tint, but the windshield was just completely impossible to see through. So we had that happen, and then we pretty much called it a night, and we knew that we were going to be doing like, you know, basically just hanging out for a couple days. At least we thought a couple of days. And I'm like, you know, I'm probably going to get rolling. You know, it's Monday. I'm probably going to get rolling out of here Tuesday, Wednesday. And then that turned to snow.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad at first.
At first, it was not bad. I remember, you know, it was like, okay, wow, this is such a blizzard, you know, like it's just snowing. Because did we go back to town that second
yeah,
day? Because we went back to town. And,
the second and third day, I think.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the third day. It was getting fairly bad, and then
yeah. But in town, like, it wasn't terrible. Like, there was a lot of snow on the roads. They were working hard to get that
Yeah.
cleared. But it was like, in town, it wasn't that bad. But then it was like, out by you was when you get on the plains, and I mean,
yeah, it drifts, and you just complete whiteout.
so
Yep.
bad. And so we were basically kind of stuck for a little bit there in your shop. But that gave us the opportunity to get very bored. And before the snowstorm really hit, we went into town and we acquired such dumb things. We spent so much stupid money on this trip. we both got, well, you got a really nice one, and I got the, what is this, 24th scale?
Yeah.
Rock crawling
RC
RCs.
crawlers. We were just sitting in the middle of a blizzard,
So we grabbed
making stuff out of wood.
literally as much junk as we could find laying around the shop while we were working on the Subaru in the background. We just built this. Dude, we spent hours playing with this.
Oh yeah,
Like absolute hours
it's a
messing
good
around.
time. I mean, you can't do it outside. Might as well do it inside, right?
Legit. So while we were there, though, not only did we mess around and, you know, have some adventures, we took your car out for some adventures. We kind of left my Legacy just hanging out, but we replaced that faulty thermostat. Shout out to Courtesy Subaru and Rapid City. They had the thermostat that I needed, which I think they're all like almost entirely passable for each older Subaru. But they had that. They had all the coolant and everything, so they hooked us up with that for all of like $30, which was awesome. And then we got that fixed and replaced. You kind of just dug through everything. We tried to clean out throttle, like the air control and all that junk, and the motor, like we cleaned up throttle body.
Try taking the spark plugs out.
Tried
Man,
to.
that's
We're just
yeah.
gonna
I don't know.
pretend.
I've never seen spark plugs that were that. They just wouldn't come out, man. You'd sit there and it'd just be a hard turn all the way out. And I'm like, if I take these out, I don't know if I'm going to get any new ones in there. It's like someone impacted them in or something. Like,
That's all right. They're still working, so we ignored that. But then, man, I don't have the picture. But when I do the review on this, because I'm going to do an odds and ends review, and I'm gonna treat it like a legit review car. But you can see like this was, you know, the state of the blizzard.
doesn't look bad
You
at
literally
all, does
cannot
it?
tell that there was a blizzard out there, and it was like, trust me, we're both from Wisconsin. I just had a blizzard today. We got 12 inches of snow in like 6 hours today. Like literally, it was clear, free and clear yesterday. There we go. This is today. I had no snow in my yard. I had no snow on the cars. I had no snow anywhere on the property. And this was me 10 minutes before we started this podcast, trying to get my wife into the driveway because I did not do anything today. So, whoops. But yes, that's the state of our yard right now, and the Subaru as it sits in my driveway, which is nice to have the four-wheel drive because if I wanted to, I could somehow get the Golf out and take the Subaru out, and it'll just romp through anything I found. But yeah,
Pretty
so
much.
Blizzard, you know, Couldn't see 2 feet in front of us. It's just like,
yeah, that was.
we tried to venture out and thinking it was okay. The second we got out, we realized it was unsafe. I mean, it was just,
you couldn't even see past the hood.
No, like,
I mean, it was like nothing else.
Literally, I've never seen anything like it. You think of a whiteout around here?
Yeah,
not even. Just
I mean,
not
it
even.
really was a whiteout. I mean, you could not see past your windows.
It was like,
I mean,
your vision was literally a whiteboard.
Yeah.
There was no definition of anything. So yeah, that was a bummer. But then the day after that, it was a little bit better, and we could actually venture out. And then by the end of the afternoon, like, we were able to go everywhere, and it was nice. But the problem was, for me, not only would it have been majorly unsafe and utterly stupid, but the highway was shut down. So just interstate's closed right outside the town that you live in. So I couldn't leave, and I was at the mercy of them clearing that blizzard, remnants, which for the highway meant ice, a lot of ice. So I was at the mercy of that. So I stayed for how long? I mean, I was there
almost a week.
I was planning to leave like Wednesday, Thursday. I think I left on the following Monday.
Yeah, it was
something
basically
like
a week.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was fun though. Like, we had a ton of fun. But then we didn't do too much to it besides we did cut the muffler off. The look you gave me, I wish I had a camera, like, picture moment of the look you gave me when I turned around and you were just standing there holding a Sawzall, like.
That's all it takes. Sawzall and weld on a pipe.
Yep.
I mean, what else do you need?
Literally. And it sounds so rude and obnoxious.
Sounds so good.
It just, you'd think it sounds awful, but no, it just sounds surprisingly good. Like, I mean, it just sounds like it's trying to be Colin McRae's Legacy, but it's really bad at it, but it's trying.
Both DJ22s. Yeah.
But so we turbo this thing. 5-speed swap it, cage it, bring it out, do some rally. Come on now. That's just, no, I'm good. But yeah, so that was really cool. I can't really think of any highlights like while we were in town besides the amount of, like, Oriental, if that's the right word, food we ate like almost every day.
Yeah, the ramen
shop, the Vietnamese shop that we got. I think I got like lo mein there, and then there was like one more I think that we stopped at, and then we went to the tractor store. Got the pipe. Well,
didn't buy tractors.
We bought tractors,
like Tractor Supply.
Yeah, Tractor Supply.
At the tractor.
We went to a John Deere dealership. And we're like, we need parts. No, we went to what is that place called again? It's like the equivalent of what I have out here.
Runnings, basically.
Sure. So we go in there. Got a little woolly mammoth figure because I don't know why. I mean, this car just reminds me of a woolly mammoth. It's old. It's tromps through things. Makes a lot of noise. Like, everything just adds up. I don't know. I got nicknames for all my stuff, and that was it. But finally, that following, let's call it a Monday, I had finally had it. They opened up the roads, and I'm like, dude, I got animals to take care of at home. I've got so much stuff going on. I've got to leave. And so you were a little bit behind me. You left a few days later. So originally we were going to tag team back to Wisconsin, but I just kind of like my fuse for time ran out, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it alone. We're going to see how this goes. It was how many miles to get there. I'm just going to send it. This thing made it through Colorado to here. Let's do it again. So woke up the next morning, had to jump start it with your battery pack because it was like negative 15 degrees outside. The heat blew warm, which was awesome. It was, again, negative 15, jump started. 5 minutes into the drive, heat was just perfect. And skies were clear. Not a hint of a snowstorm in sight for the first hour. Now, we were talking, the Badlands are about an hour away. Wall, South Dakota is the second I started to really think, is this the right day to be leaving town? It went from being smooth sailing, like they cleaned it up, to just ice. I mean, 80 miles an hour on the interstate turned into like 25, 30 for almost what? I mean, it was to the river. It was all the way to the Missouri.
Yep.
So for that entire time, I was just I've never been a white knuckle driver before, but when you're in a 93 clapped out Legacy Wagon, questionable as hell, on tires that cost less than my shoes, I got sketched real quick. And it does it again. It's one of those things where it's hard to tell in the pictures.
It's packed. You can tell it's packed snow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was not only snow, but I mean everything in between
Ice.
was
Yeah.
just ice. And there was trucks in the ditch everywhere. I have a picture here.
There's so many trucks in the ditch. Oh
Like,
yeah, trailers and
the whole thing was blown open on the other side and like probably rolled or whatever. But there was,
yeah.
I mean, it was just everywhere. If you look down, I think it was further along that stretch. There was a bunch down there, and this part though was nice. There'd be spots where you'd hit where it was just normal driving. It was easy, but then it got so bad, and there was one part before I got into town on the Missouri River. What is that town called?
Chamberlain.
Chamberlain, yeah, beautiful city or town, whatever you want to call it, but beautiful town.
It's one of those.
What's that?
It's one of those.
Yeah, it's a city township village. But I remember it taking so long to get there, and it was so sketchy. I mean, it was like you're driving, and then the whole car is just like, and you're like, I need to keep going straight, looking like Scooby-Doo, like Freddy driving the Mystery Machine, just like this the whole time, going 45 and an 80, just trying your best. And I got to Chamberlain. I damn near got out of the car and kissed the ground. Like, I was just like, oh my God, because there's nothing in between. There's nothing.
Oh yeah, not really.
And I was like, there was traffic though. So the traffic part I was happy for, because I'm like, if I go off the road, one of these people is going to stop and help, because they're going to be like, look at this clapped out idiot. Like, what is he doing out here? And so I felt pretty well safe. And I'm a great driver, so I wasn't, really too worried. It's just the uncontrollables, right? But Chamberlain, damn near kissed the ground at the gas station. And I mean, getting to the gas station alone, like, I was like a slip and slide. Every corner was just like, wee, hanging out, barely in control of the thing. Park, get gas. The pressurized gas tank was not letting me fill the gas tank. That was one issue that I had. And I don't know if it's just their pumps, but when I put that in there, it was literally like it would go, and then all of a sudden you hear like, and it would just kick it out. And I was on E. Like, it was like dead empty. So I had to like jam it in there the right way and get it all in, and then hold it and really listen for it. Otherwise, it just kept popping back off and whatnot.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like looking for the spout.
This.
I was looking for the spout, like where the like the air comes back out, and things like that. I'm trying to like see, is there a spot that I need to clear and like open up? It took me forever to fill that thing, and then it never happened again. So it's really weird. But then left there, smooth sailing. Literally such clean roads once I got east of there, and nothing happened. Like, literally nothing new. It's not like another light came on. What's going to happen? The check engine is going to have a sequel? Like, that's already on. The power light flashes because of the transmission. Well, that's already going. Like, what? There's nothing else. Nothing else to happen, and nothing did. Checked halfway home. Stopped for some Taco Bell. Popped out. Looked at all the fluids. Everything was fine. Topped up like a champ.
Thing worked great.
Yeah, and
Good.
I think I put oil in it on the east side of Minnesota. I noticed that it was down just a little bit, which, I mean, for an old Subaru, you're going to have that after how many miles in the few days that I owned and drove it, put on, an oil's change worth of miles. So, I'm happy with that. I know people that have old Subarus that pull up to the gas station every time and have to add oil, so I think we're okay.
Not uncommon.
No. So, and I got home. And that was it. Like, that was literally the whole thing. I wish there was like more craziness to it, but that thing went from
no drama.
Golden, Colorado, without a hitch, Golden, Colorado, through Wyoming to Rapid City, all the way to Appleton, without throwing a single fit. I mean, I got home with the biggest smile on my face because my wife walks outside, because she knows that I've been talking about doing something dumb like this forever. And I got out and I was so ecstatic that I'm like, I did it. It did it. We're here. Like, it's, oh my God, it happened. And now it's a lawn ornament. Woo. Except for when it snows, because if I have to go anywhere today, I know what I'm taking.
Nice to have it.
Yeah.
Nice to have it for sure.
But I don't know. That was an adventure though, that seriously I don't think, I don't have a reason to, but I don't think I'll ever forget any bit of that, because that was just, all of it was so fun. You helping me out with it. You did all the work at the shop. I mean, you literally just kind of cracked her open and got to work, and you're like, hold this, do the thing, and then, okay, cool. I'll just be sitting here with my Truly watching you do the thing. And, that was an unforgettable memory. And now it's just, I don't plan to, unless I have to, I don't plan to get rid of it. It's such a cheap meme of a car that works so well that I think I'm just going to keep it until it's toast. Like, I just want to make it live its last breaths under my ownership and then just send it off with a bang. And you know what? If that happens, I might send it off with a bang in a style for the YouTube channel on the extras page or something. Because, the main channel I'm going to be keeping relatively professional. But I want there to be an extras page where we can do some really dumb stuff, because I've got friends that are into this stuff, and I've got a lot of connections to do stupid things. And I think we're going to send this thing out with a bang once it's ready, though. I don't want to do it premature.
Clean, though, really. The thing's pretty nice.
Oh, I know. That's why it's going to be a long time until that happens. But if something, I don't know. We'll see. But either way, thing worked. It's here now, rotting under the snow. And I guess you could say that both me and the car at this point in time are happy campers.
Absolutely.
Fucking Walmart sticker. You had to put the sticker on the car. You asked me, and I said, as long as you pay for it, you can put whatever sticker you want on this car. And it is located right next to the only blip of rust on the car.
Could be a lot worse.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, sorry, there's that too.
93. Yeah,
Ooh,
wow.
It's we should salvage it right now.
Detrimental.
That is it. We're salvaging the car right now. Too much rust. But yeah, no, that's oh my God. Okay, so we actually have oh my God. All right, so I can't see anything anymore, but we do have a comment for the first time in the whole show. XIIIDRE Zdre. What? Rapid City, like that place that Owl City mentioned in their new song? Nice.
Not the Owl City song. No, not the Owl City song. We're not going to talk about Dinosaur Park here.
Dinosaur Park. Okay, so let's break it down real quick. So we've got Dinosaur Park.
No, we won't.
So do you know this person or
yes.
who?
Yes.
Okay, so you know this person. That's perfect. But seriously, Dinosaur Park. I don't even think I've gone there yet.
You have. It's on Skyline Drive.
It is.
It's all the dinosaurs on Skyline Drive.
How do I not remember this? Like,
well, we didn't actually go up to the dinosaurs because it's like for children.
So?
Which is why it's crazy that Owl City wrote such a emotional and deep-thoughted song about it, because it's just a bunch of concrete dinosaurs that look like they're made in the 70s, because they were.
Oh my God. That reminds me, so out here too by our property we have a concrete museum thing. It's like we should have taken you over there when you were in town, but next time you come to town, if you come up to the property with us, this guy had a outdoor museum that he basically made a bunch of concrete statues and then embedded them with different things, like just objects and stuff, and made a ton of them. And it's like this whole forest you can walk through that is like all just concrete weird figures, man. Some of it's like very questionable. So you'll have to come and look at it, but it's
okay.
It's more weird than the dinosaurs, let's put it that way.
I don't think if you look at some of these dinosaurs, man, I don't get it. I think that song is satire, but there's a lot of people who are very moved by it.
Dude, if it's not satire, I don't know. You sent that to me last night, and between that and the tequila, I was like, what is this song? What went through that dude's head to write that song?
That's what I'm saying.
It didn't make any
sense.
sense.
Get it. I don't get it at all.
And like, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's only a handful of people watching, but if you do, go look it up. Watch that.
Owl City Dinosaur Park, written about nothing out here in Rapid City. It's just a bunch of concrete dinosaurs.
Ugh, it's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I knew that was going to come up. I somehow knew it.
It didn't even have to be me to say anything. But I suppose, man, we rocked this. It is 6:11 my time. It has been 2 hours and 2 minutes that we've been sitting here romping around some subjects on some Subarus. But I think really with that end, Rapid City's Owl City song, I got really nothing else for this
Rapid
one,
City's
man.
Owl City song?
That's a mouthful, dude. But I can't think of anything else to that I can really think of, unless you can.
No.
about your car, my car, the weirdness, what we're doing here. I don't know. I think we're relatively okay. So on that great note of Rapid City South City song, is there anything you want to give for like a shout out? Obviously, you've got Diode Dynamics on board, all that jazz. You give a shout out for all of your social medias, yada yada.
Yeah, I mean, you can just check me out on Instagram, primarily on Instagram, as you can see right here. Where it is, there it is, River Treks. Just Instagram right now. Thought about doing YouTube. Might do YouTube. I don't know. But just right now, just Instagram.
For sure.
But yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was
Thanks
exciting
for,
to not do not do terribly. So this has been a really fun time. We have to figure out how to
absolutely.
get these things down to an hour though, but I don't know if it's really even that big of a deal. But yeah, no, this has been a super fun time. Really appreciative that you made some time to hop on here and just chat, shoot the breeze. Usually we're talking like this playing video games, but this time around we're actually talking with a purpose, so that felt really
Yeah.
nice. If we ever come up with some other things, or you go on some crazy adventures and get some wild pictures or anything like that, you want to come on the show, just let me know. But we're going to see how this pans out. So
Okay.
I'm hoping to do these at least once a month, if not once a week. But yeah, as it stands, I think that's pretty much it. So if you like the podcast, feel free, give us a subscribe on YouTube. We're really trying to get YouTube off the ground, and I know with the weather the way it is, doing content is really difficult. But that's going to be over soon, hopefully. It's the pain of living in Wisconsin. So more car reviews, more content. I want to do a collab video too, River, for you. I want to shoot a video with you in your car, so I want to get out there and actually shoot that video now that everything's kind of done on it. I mean, I think you said
pretty
there's
much.
some things that you want to do, but I want to shoot that as the kind of like a vehicle showcase, and also maybe do some of our other filming for some car camping hacks and all that jazz. Like I've got a whole idea of what I'm going to do on this channel, so do some of that. But just a lot of stuff to look out for, and yeah, so that's it. YouTube, subscribe. You can follow me at my personal Instagram, which is a lot of junk, not all just cars. It's a lot of junk. But then also Roadorama on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That's pretty much it. So if that's that, thank you for coming on, and
Thanks for having me.
yeah, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Sounds good. You too.